Just let all of my panelists introduce themselves. Say hi, everybody.
I'm John. I'm the CEO of Safemoon.
I'm James. I'm the CEO of the Jasco Group.
I'm Joe. I'm president of Ironlight Labs.
And we're talking about venture philanthropy today. So James and I were chatting inside. I'd love for you to kind of talk about the different players in this space.
Sure. I think of them in pretty much four large categories. The government is one category, and that's at the federal, state, and local level. And so the government actually engages in venture philanthropy. The second would be corporations. So it can be large banks, it can be Google, it can be any large corporation. The third bucket, I would say, would be nonprofits like Ironlight. And then the fourth and last bucket, I would say, would be angel investors, very wealthy individuals. And each of those four players, you can be in more than one bucket. So there are some corporations that have nonprofit wings. There are some wealthy individuals that not only give on their own behalf, but they also run corporations. And so there's a bit of fluidity among all of the different players. And they tend to, once you've got those four players, they tend to break out into two subject matters. One is, what do I want my return on? Is it on impact? And so do I want a return on my impact? Or do I want a return on my money, a financial return? And so any of those four categories can go back and forth among the categories, and they can also go back and forth between those two big areas, return on impact, return on finance performance.
Right. And, oh, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so you can actually get both of those at the same time. So I think there's like a third category where you can target business models or create a business model where prime example is energy. When you're able to reduce the amount of friction points, you can actually pass those savings onto the customer rather than pass those savings onto your bottom line. So for Safemoon, that's what we're focusing on, is actually creating efficiency to reduce our overhead so we can pass those savings on to the customers and actually provide, the goal is virtually free, clean energy once the entire ecosystem's up and running.
Right, and all of you are in you're in different spaces here, crypto and nonprofits. Like, how do you, John just kind of talked about this, but how are you achieving and measuring like venture philanthropy and return on impact in your own positions? And Joe, you can.
Yeah, so for a nonprofit, obviously we need to have money first, right? So did your project get funded? That's a market signal. But for us, impact is human capital, I guess you could say. Did we change a law? Did we create awareness, right? Is someone's life marginally better? For us, it's about breaking barriers so that everyone can have like limitless potential and reach their potential. But that's very different than just a financial, hey, did I get a return on my money? It's much more purpose-driven on the nonprofit side.
Anything you wanted to add to that, James? Or
Sure, I would say John is so correct when he says you can do both. One, I often do philanthropy through education, through storytelling. So we invested in a short film, and notoriously short films don't tend to make a lot of money. You're trying to build awareness, you're trying to get people to be more involved in a social project or a social impact. And so we did one on race and micro inequities that African Americans face. And so we thought it would be a return on impact, that we would get the word out, we would support people. And then we turned it into a DEI program, and we sold it to corporations. And I've made more money on that short film from monetizing it that way, and it did both. It gave us financial performance and a financial return, as well as social impact. So they can be both.
Yeah, and using a kind of a business model like that where you monetize a situation that you more traditionally wouldn't monetize, it allows you to continue doing exactly that, creating more videos, creating more awareness. The other item, at least for Safemoon, the way we measure return on impact is, one, does it actually change lives? And two, are we making enough revenue from it that we can continue to build out the system? Now, turbines are easy to calculate. How many turbines have we actually put into the ground? How many more do we have in the wing? And how much energy is it producing? So for us, it's a lot easier to measure that metric. Now, when you start adding in the second, third, and fourth order effects, okay, now providing that clean energy, did it affect someone's life? Did they have clean water? Is the standard of living going up? So you actually have to measure it by both the human aspect and as well as the monetary aspect.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of trying to, you need revenue, right? And balancing those two things, balancing revenue with being impact-minded seems like you don't usually think of those two things together, you know?
Well, I think it comes down to what your motivations are. Is it to do good or is it to make money?
Yeah.
So for Safemoon, we gain resources so we can do more good. So for us, it's more about the impact side of it and a continuous evolution, because at the end of the day, we're playing an infinite game and not a finite game. And so we define success as a continuous evolution, non-stagnation. As soon as we get stagnant in whether it's integrating our ecosystem into something, whether it's installing more turbines, we can actually measure that stagnation. How many months has it been since we installed another turbine, or how many months has it been since we got another business-to-business partner? So it's an infinite game where you have to continuously evolve and also be able to pivot. Because sometimes, I'll use wind turbines because it's an easy example, you might not be getting as much wind as you expect. So how do you solve that problem? Well, you can solve it from a technology problem, or you can go back and just reinstall the turbine, put it up higher because maybe there's more wind there. For us, we actually looked into nanotechnology to enhance these turbines because they are small. They're about 98 pounds, roughly. Yeah, but they produce 600 watts. The larger one produces 2,400 watts and weighs about 300 pounds. So for us, it's like, well, how much more juice can we squeeze out of it?
Well, and I would just add to that. To me, Safemoon is like hopefully the future of what companies look like, because you have this culture shift of you don't have to choose revenue or purpose-driven, right? And in fact, I think younger generations are looking to put their dollars in companies that care about human capital, human folks, that human side, not just how much money am I making year over year.
And I think I completely agree. The other thing I would say is when we think about financial return, it can be direct financial return or it can be indirect financial return. So one of the not-profits that I'm really excited about is Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, and we teach inner city high school kids. And so we give them through a summer workshop, we teach them how to start their business, and then we give them a grant. And it's not a large grant, like $500 or $1,000 to start their company. And one of our young ladies started with her $500 or $1,000 grant and grossed $100,000 in the business that she started. And so that is not just, we weren't looking for a financial return, but she got the financial return. And that's an indirect return that then goes back into the community.
Well, it also shows success in the program, which allows you to do more of those programs. So it's, while you might not get a financial return on it, you definitely do get benefit from successes.
And on the nonprofit side, you can take that return to your donors and say, hey, this is working. We do that with storytelling, right? So when one of our films changes a law, we can say, let's go change the law in 15 more states.
Yeah, and consumers, I mean, Joe kind of nodded to this, that consumers they're more impact-minded now. Yikes.
We're safe.
They're much more impact-minded now. I mean, is it easier or harder to build a community in this space?
I think it's easier.
Yeah.
I think it's easier because we all start at a great place, which is we want to make a difference. We're in philanthropy. And so we've been doing that for hundreds of years. What's really exciting is now we're marrying it with tech. We're marrying it with entrepreneurship. We're marrying it with, from the government. When I was in the Obama administration, we wanted to do evidence-based grants. So even when we were giving money to cities and states and individuals, we were excited about how do we determine who to give the money to. And the way you do that is to say performance, which again is a venture philanthropy kind of look at it. So I think it excites the next generation, which is really fun and exciting. My generation is happy, but to get younger individuals into philanthropy in a way that they're excited about, I think is just remarkable. So I think it's great to do it now and build community.
And I would just add, I think community members are more sophisticated, right? And so they're going to demand more out of that membership. So if they're raising their hand saying, I'm into you, you need to write them back. Yes. It's not just a one-way conversation anymore, it's really a dialogue. And that's, I think, what's exciting. And
Safemoon does it heavily. You know, I'm personally in our Discord talking to people all the time. Like I might have not ever met these people individually in person, but I've talked to many of them online. You know, they're like, "Oh, hi, I'm Joe." I'm like, "What's your Discord handle?" Okay, we've had many conversations, you know, and we've talked profusely about my hatred of pineapple on pizza. But who? I have no idea who you're talking about. But no, the importance of communicating with your community is it can define whether you're going to be successful in this venture philanthropy business model or not. Because if you can't tell the narrative or the story, who's going to know about it? Who are you going to inspire to then continue and pass the flag on to keep going and doing this business model to show that it actually works?
Yeah, are Safemoon investors thinking about this? Are they, you know, when they're giving you money, when they're like buying crypto, are they thinking about social impact?
I would think so. Yes, definitely a lot of them are behind that. But you get a with Safemoon we have a large dichotomy of different types of people. You know, we have college students, we have board certified physicians, and everyone in between. I have a funny story regarding like New York City Police Department was looking for me, but not to arrest me, but they were Safemoon holders. And so Scott Paul, who a lot of you know, he went up and they were like, "Oh, where's John at?" And he's like, "What did he do?" He's like, "Oh, we're just looking. We want to say hi." I'm like, "Okay." So I had NYPD looking for me. That's great. But no, it shows the importance of community and actually being able to articulate the vision, because if you articulate vision correctly, they understand what Safemoon stands for. You know, we want to do good, and we want to change the world in a sustainable fashion.
And I would just add that groups like Safemoon are now putting, as a college student, I didn't have cryptocurrency, right? And so to accumulate wealth and then be able to use that wealth to give to a nonprofits, which many are accepting cryptocurrency as donations, I think is also changing. You have more skin in the game because you can be philanthropic where you're giving, but also accumulate even more wealth.
And I think talking about community, the other thing that's really exciting is so many of us play on both sides. We are funding, and our Light is funding one of our projects, thank you very much, but we're also doing our own programmatic activities. So the JASCO group looks to fund different philanthropic activities, but we also run our own philanthropy where we're asking other people to fund us. And so the community is wonderful that way because a lot of us are on both sides.
I'm ready to wrap it up, but am I missing anything? Do you guys want to plug anything? Like, what's next for all of you?
So Safemoon's got a bunch of products that we're releasing. Not going to talk about a few of them because we don't want to blow the birthday month surprises. But to speak about donations, Safemoon Connect will be able to help with that, whether or not you want to take native tokens or have it auto-convert into stablecoin to reduce risk. But Safemoon Connect is one of the products that is coming out here very shortly. And, you know, Safemoon's just going to keep on trucking.
I would say the JASCO Group is an investment management firm, so we manage money. We also do venture capital and filmmaking. And what I'm so excited about what's coming next is we just launched JASCO Philanthropies, which is going to bring philanthropy across all of those different verticals. So we're really excited about that.
I would just end it with, we train storytellers how to empower folks on the ground who are closest to the problem and have solutions, but maybe need their voice amplified to tell that story. And just being here at South by, I've heard so many great stories that we could make a film on, help amplify, so this is great.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Again, I'm Nicole Cobbler with Axios. We have this local newsletter in Austin. Definitely check it out if it's in your city. But yeah, thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.